Dear parents, students, IAU administration, faculty, and staff, and to our FB viewers. March 2020 was a tough month for people around the world. It was the start of lockdowns and quarantines for most cities because of the coronavirus outbreak. Now, March 2021, the vaccines arrive in the Philippines. And what is trending in the social media is to take the vaccine or not to take. That is the question. The COVID 19 pandemic has led to a stream of new information presented constantly to us. So we are hearing about variants of the SARS-CoV-2 virus that causes COVID-19. So how concerned should we be? And do vaccines provide protections against these variants? Now, given the urgent need for COVID 19 vaccines, the IAUDRRMU organized this webinar to help you make decision. For those of you just joining us, welcome to our webinar, COVID-19 Vaccine Awareness. I'm Maria Luz Kayagan, your moderator this afternoon, and we are privileged that a representative from Department of Health Philippines is here to answer our questions or enlighten us today about the importance of vaccines. Ang tanong, magpapabakuna ba ako? So, do vaccines protect us against COVID 19? And what can you do to protect yourself? So, we will find out later. So, just sit back and stay tuned in the Zoom meeting. And then, wag mahiyang magtanong later. You can even chat us in our FB page, no? There in our live stream or even in our chat box in Zoom. So this would be our flow this afternoon. So in a little while, our dear Dean of Colleges will be introducing to us. I will give an opening remarks, and then our engineer Edgy Galios, our safety manager, will give an introduction to our dear speaker, and then we will have our talk and lecture and an open forum, and of course presentation of certificate of appreciation or token of appreciation, and a photo opportunity and closing prayer. So that is what you're going to look forward this afternoon. Okay, ready na ba kayo? So many of you made a huge effort to join us today despite internet connectivity. And on behalf of the IAU community, allow me to call our Dean of all colleges, Dr. Nonita P. Ligaspi, to give us her welcome message. A virtual applause, please.
Thank you very much, our dear Ma'am Luz. Thank you. Okay. Respected Chief Executive Officer of Indiana Aerospace University, Mr. Harold Turing, distinguished resource speaker, administrators, department heads, teachers, instructors and professors, parents, college students, aerospacers, good afternoon and welcome to our webinar on vaccine awareness. Thank you for participating in this webinar. I am glad that you have found time to be with us today. The COVID-19 pandemic has brought so much stress and sadness all over the world, affecting our emotional, social, mental, economic, and educational aspects. This pandemic is far from over. We need a vaccine to control this virus. We need this to protect ourselves and to protect also those around us. We have learned that immunization or vaccination is one of the greatest success stories in the history of global health. However, misinformation or fake news about this COVID-19 vaccine are adding fuel to the fire, putting vulnerable people at risk. Fears of what will happen after being vaccinated. Why is vaccination important? How does a vaccine work? Why should one get vaccinated? Who will be vaccinated? What are these age groups? Is it compulsory or necessary that we get vaccinated? All these queries and concerns of ours will be addressed in this webinar. We are blessed to have with us a resource speaker who is an authority to talk about COVID-19 vaccine and its benefits. So, let us all lend our ears to him. Let us listen attentively and be ready with our questions and clarifications during the open forum. Meantime, relax and open your hearts and minds to our dear resource speaker. Together, we will overcome this pandemic. As the saying goes, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Ma'am Dean. I deeply appreciate your time being with us, filled with the desires, hopes, and prayers we all share that this pandemic will really end. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, the Zoom room is ready. Handa na rin ba kayo? And to introduce to us our highly esteemed guest speaker, let us welcome AMT Department Head and our Safety Manager, Engineer Edgy A. Gallius. A virtual clap or heart, please.
Thank you, Ma'am Luz. Hi, everyone. This is Edgy Gallios, your safety manager. So it is a privilege for me to introduce our speaker this afternoon. Allow me to say a few words. Dr. Alfonso Fonsi Regala currently leads the Program Implementation and Outreach Division under the Health Promotion Bureau. He previously served for 4 years in Northern Samar and was Chief of Hospital at Dr. Gregorio B. Tan Memorial Hospital. Dr. Regala holds an MD and MBA from Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health and is part of the inaugural cohort of the Obama Foundation Leaders for Asia Pacific in 2019 and Tatler's Generation T Leaders in 2020. And today, Dr. Regala joins us as he helps us navigate through the clutter and disinformation. Our aim is to get a better understanding regarding the much awaited COVID vaccines. So now, without further ado, let us welcome Dr. Alfonso Fonsi Regala.
Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you so much for that generous introduction. And also, I'm very grateful to have been invited to this event today. Can you see my slides? All right. So we understand that there have been several issuances, updates to the information only by the DOH, no? And with that, the evidence also is evolving, no, for COVID-19. So there must be a deluge of information. And in this presentation, I will try to condense them into the 10 must-knows for everyone on the COVID-19 vaccine program. So what are our goals? No? It's the vision is clear. We want a safe, equitable, and cost-effective immunization for all Filipinos by 2023. So this is a job spanning now until 2023. That's 3 years. And we will do this by establishing a sustainable immunization program against COVID-19. And our goal ultimately is to protect the public from COVID-19, to reduce the number of cases, that's morbidity, and to reduce the number of deaths, that's mortality. So why do we even need to get vaccinated in the first place? COVID-19 has already claimed so many lives, and it continues to threaten others every day. Getting the vaccine can provide these following benefits. The first is it can prevent symptomatic infection. The second, it can prevent severe infection. Right now, it's still being studied as to how the vaccines or how long they can prevent transmission. Since the vaccines have only been present for less than a year, the data for transmission is still being completed. But in order to maximize the benefits of the vaccine, a certain number of the population has to be vaccinated. So this is similar to the concept that we use for all other vaccines. For COVID-19 vaccines, at least 70% of the population needs to be vaccinated so that we can maximize the protection it provides. So which vaccines will we be using? We have to understand three things. First is that 80% of the global supply of vaccines have already been reserved, no, or purchased by high-income countries. Second, there's no single manufacturer that can provide for all Filipinos. Third is that the vaccines will not arrive all at the same time. So they will arrive in phases. So with these three considerations, our national government has been negotiating with a vaccine portfolio of 7 vaccines as listed here: AstraZeneca, Gamaleya, Janssen, Moderna, Novavax, Pfizer, and Sinovac. Um, and rest assured that our experts have been examining and evaluating all of the vaccine candidates, including the Philippine Food and Drug Administration. And no vaccine will be administered without being granted by the Philippine FDA an emergency use authorization. So at present, as of today, only 3 vaccines have been given Philippine FDA emergency use authorization. That's Pfizer last Jan 14, AstraZeneca last Jan 28, and Sinovac last Feb 22. So some info updated as of Feb 11. Um, the Pfizer and AstraZeneca vaccines are both given 2 doses, but with different intervals. Pfizer is 3 weeks, AstraZeneca 4 to 12 weeks between the first and the second dose. In terms of storage, Pfizer has a slightly more sensitive temperature requirement. So it needs ultra low cold storage. No? So that's negative 80 to negative 60 degrees compared to AstraZeneca at +2 to +8. So this is also one of the considerations, logistics, when it comes to having a portfolio of vaccines. So for example, we can't expect to have negative 80 to negative 60 degrees freezers in our far-flung areas. So for that situation, the Pfizer vaccine may not be the most suitable. So in terms of efficacy, Pfizer has reported in their clinical trials that it's 95% against it provides 95% efficacy against symptomatic COVID-19 7 days after the second dose. AstraZeneca, 70.4% against symptomatic COVID 14 days after the second dose. So 2 important things here. First is it clarifies that it's symptomatic COVID. Please understand that what we're trying to avoid here, or the worst case scenario that we're trying to prevent, is the kind of COVID that will get you hospitalized or worse, confined in the ICU. So the symptomatic COVID that's being prevented, as mentioned, has to be taken with a grain of salt, because it's still possible that a symptomatic transmission of COVID-19 can happen. But this is not a cause of worry, because asymptomatic COVID will not cause you to be hospitalized. It should just guide us that even if we do get vaccinated, we still need to continue the practice of minimum public health standards so that if we do get the asymptomatic COVID, we won't be able to transmit it to other people, which is the worst fear. The second part of the statement is that the protection uh, has been noted optimal 7 days after the second dose for Pfizer and 14 days for AstraZeneca. We highlight this because some people may be worried. They've heard news, sabi nila, Doc, nabasa ko sa Facebook ko, someone who's completed the vaccine abroad suddenly came home and dito, nag-positive pa rin sila. So, bakit ganoon? They've been vaccinated but they still got COVID. So, this is an explanation. It's possible that they have been exposed before they got the first dose, second, in between the first and the second dose, or third, after the second dose, but still before the completion of the immune response. So that's why I would like to highlight these things. So no vaccine is 100% effective in preventing COVID-19. But what's important is they can prevent us from the kind that will get us hospitalized or worse, confined in an ICU. So what are the adverse effects? Adverse events, both Pfizer and AstraZeneca report the same reactogenic effects. So by reactogenic effects, we mean that the adverse event or the symptoms that was felt after vaccination is a sign of the of the inflammatory response. So it can be local, meaning pain, redness, inflammation at the site where you've been injected, or it can be systemic, meaning the inflammatory response goes into the bloodstream and you will get fever, some sort of body weakness, body malaise, but these resolve in 1 to 3 days. So I'd like to differentiate those reactogenic effects with allergies. Allergies are exaggerated inflammatory responses. So these are not the usual that we expect. So the allergies can include anaphylaxis, or the ones where people suddenly feel dizzy, unable to breathe because of severe and exaggerated inflammatory response. Those are not expected. So in terms of serious adverse events, there's only 4 that were noted for Pfizer. The first, and it's with low occurrence. The first one is shoulder injury from the administration of the vaccine. Second is lymphadenopathy. So this is about your lymph nodes, no, or yung mga kulani natin. Paroxysmal arrhythmia, meaning irregular heartbeat, and some leg weakness or leg paresthesia. For AstraZeneca, there was none reported. The populations included for Pfizer are those 16 years old and above. All other vaccines include 18 years old and above. So like I've mentioned before, several experts are working together to examine and evaluate our vaccines. From the Vaccines Experts Panel, FDA, HTAC, NITAG, and the NAFIC. And they answer different questions. I guess what I'd like to highlight here is the Philippine FDA, who answers, is it safe, efficacious, and do benefits outweigh the risks? The NITAG, which answers how should it be delivered to the people? And the NAFIC, the National Adverse Events Following Immunization Committee. They determine and investigate if there are adverse events, if there's a causal relationship with the vaccine. So it has to be investigated by the right expert, not just any person presenting themselves as an expert. So we have specific experts who need to and equipped are capable to investigate causal relationships between any vaccine and actual symptoms that were felt after vaccination. So how is the vaccine approved? Um, Vaccines are developed by undergoing through clinical trials. And before they proceed with each phase of the trial, they have to meet certain safety and efficacy criteria. So if you see from phase 1 to phase 2, they include more individuals. If in phase 1, the results show that they're not safe, they won't progress to phase 2 until phase 3. No? At phase 3, and during a public health emergency, uh, the authorities would want to provide protection to its citizens. So it can give an emergency use authorization to qualified vaccine manufacturers and vaccine brands if they meet criteria answering these two questions. No? The proper criteria. No? First is the vaccine safe and efficacious? And second, do the benefits outweigh the risks? If the answer is yes, based on the review of interim phase 3 data, the Philippine FDA can give them an emergency use authorization. This justifies its use during a public health emergency like what we are experiencing now. And after the public health emergency is lifted, the emergency use authorization will not apply anymore. Once the data is completed, the same vaccine can now apply for a certificate of product registration. So this CPR will allow it to be distributed commercially. So only once it's gotten a CPR from the Philippine FDA is a vaccine able to be purchased from private suppliers. So if anyone suggests or calls you, reaches out to you, say they have access to the vaccine, um, and it's not through the national government, uh, that's illegal at this point because no vaccine has been given a CPR as of today. Do we have to pay for anything? No, the vaccine is 100% free. Nobody will have to pay anything for it. But just understand that um, we will follow strict prioritization in order to protect those who are most at risk for getting COVID-19, those most exposed, or those at severe risk of danger, no, of mortality if they do get COVID-19. So these include our elderly and immunocompromised people. So if it arrives in phases, if the vaccine arrives in phases and we will follow a certain prioritization, what will be the basis of that prioritization? So we have primary, secondary, and tertiary goals. We're at this stage that we need to meet our primary goal, which is to maintain the most critical and essential services. So these include our healthcare facilities because if our health facilities, health capacity is not protected, then we won't be able to manage COVID-19. So they are actually our last line of defense. So we need to protect them first. Second is to directly reduce the number of cases, morbidity, and the number of deaths, mortality. So who will be part of our uh, different priority groups? So there are three groups, A, B, and C. Um, for Group A, this will include frontline workers in health facilities, national and local, public and private, both health professionals and non-professionals, because we understand that there are students who are also stationed and exposed in health facilities, both in health and allied health professions. Second is our senior citizens, age 60 and above. Third is our persons with comorbidities or those with other diseases, not yet included in the frontline workers or the senior citizens. Fourth is frontline personnel in essential sectors. Again, both public and private. as defined by the IATF. So what's essential will be based on the IATF definition. This group also includes our uniformed personnel. Fifth is our indigent population, not yet included in the first four groups. The second group, Group B, will include our teachers, social workers, other government employees, and other essential workers. And emphasis is also given to certain social demographic groups with higher risk other than the senior citizens and indigent population. This would include our PDLs, or persons deprived of liberty, our PWDs, persons with disability, and Filipinos living in high density areas. To complete our Group B, we have our OFWs and the remaining workforce. Such that when we go to Group C, the rest of the eligible Filipino population will be vaccinated. At present, the COVID-19 vaccine is only recommended for adults. So for Pfizer, 16 and above tayo. For every other vaccines, it's 18 and above. Those younger than those age groups will not yet be vaccinated. So when the evidence comes in and we get info on the safety and efficacy on the younger age groups, that's when we can expand with the help of our experts' recommendations. So number 5, when and where will I get vaccinated? So we have to understand that we're still in Group A, specifically A1, the healthcare workers. Our national government is working with our local government units to prepare all the necessary steps, including registration, master listing, and scheduling of vaccinees. So please await the specific instructions from your local chief executive. So that's our mayors and our governors. So for master listing, the DOH together with the LGUs will be using an electronic immunization registry. So this would first identify the target eligible population, which the LGU will verify so that they can upload the master list. Why is this important? This is important because we want to secure the same brand for the 2 doses for every vaccine. So for example, we have an arrival of 100,000 doses. That 100,000 doses will only be allotted for 50,000 people because we need to ensure that the same brand for the completed 2 doses will be given to each vaccinee. And for this master listing, similar to the prioritizations, we're also doing it by phase. So workers in frontline health services is phase 1, to be followed by the senior citizens, indigent population, military and uniformed personnel, other frontline workers and special populations, and the remaining populations. Doc, bakit ganyan? Bakit hindi pa pwede magpalista? No? Yung usual na question po sa amin. We are doing this by phase because we don't want overcrowding in our facilities because that would break the minimum public health standards. You got the vaccine, but physical distancing is not being implemented not being implemented, no? So you would still be exposed. So it defeats the purpose of getting vaccinated in the first place. So we want to avoid those instances where people may be exposed unnecessarily if they crowd our LGUs for registration. So once it's your phase already, don't worry, the LGU will give sufficient announcement to inform everybody that has to be vaccinated. So where will we be vaccinated? The LGUs are also mapping possible implementing units where its constituents can be vaccinated. So we will be implementing a fixed post-vaccination strategy, and possible sites include medical centers, hospitals, and infirmaries, our rural health units, health facilities of other government agencies, and possibly also private clinics. So what do we do? What do we have to do to prepare before the vaccination? So make sure that you obtain accurate information from the right sources. And the right sources are experts who are licensed professionals. We have to be very critical of the information that we consume. Let's not, let's always verify what we read, what we see, and what we hear from other people. Trusted sources would include the Department of Health, the World Health Organization, the Centers for Disease Control, no, of the US. Second, on your scheduled health screening, you have to declare your complete medical history. So this is important to determine which vaccines are appropriate for you. So the complete medical history will consist of an interview, uh, and no person will be scheduled for vaccination without going through health screening. Some additional questions before you get vaccinated. No? Can a person choose the brand of vaccine that will be given to him or her? Right now, no. There's the national government will vaccinate based on the prioritization as earlier presented, and second, on the scheduled delivery of the vaccine. So for example, if we get a batch of vaccines now with Philippine FDA approval, only those vaccines will be given to the first priority group. So if we can't choose the brand, can I decline vaccination? Yes, vaccination is not mandatory. Anyone may opt to decline by signing a waiver or the informed consent. No? However, implications of this will be that your slot in the prioritization will be forfeited. And should you change your mind, you have to fall back in line and wait for everyone else to get vaccinated before you again get another slot for vaccination. So no problem. So if ako po no, I have previously recovered from COVID, will I still need to get vaccinated? So yes, our experts still recommend that you get vaccinated even if you've already recovered from COVID-19. You just have to wait an interval of 90 days, that's 90, from the time that you recovered and before you get the vaccine. Do we need to get tested? No, you don't need to get tested before or after getting the vaccine. So we've talked about what you need to do before the actual vaccination. Now, during vaccination, what will you do? You will go to your assigned vaccination site according to the schedule given to you by the LGU. And of course, you will still be practicing the BIDA behaviors, no? The minimum public health standards. You wear your face mask, your face shield, bring your alcohol-based sanitizer, and stay at least a meter away from other people. You will be given the informed consent form, and it will be explained to you. And signing it will signify that you are aware of the benefits and risks of the vaccine, and that number two, you are willing to get vaccinated. And the healthcare workers will monitor you for 15 to 30 minutes before you can go home, because they want to make sure that you won't be experiencing any unusual symptoms or adverse events. So these are our allergies, like I earlier mentioned. And all vaccinated Filipinos will actually be monitored for at least 12 months. So after they get their second dose, no, after they've completed the second dose, the monitoring will actually be at least a year. If any adverse event following immunization happens, so this is what we call our AEFIs, no? This can range from our reactogenic response, which is the pain on the injection site, fever, to our severe allergies, no? Severe allergic reaction, the anaphylaxis. All of these will be monitored strictly by health professionals. Our vaccination teams are equipped to handle them on site. And second, if they would need specialized care, protocols for referral to hospitals are also in place. If hospitalization is needed, existing PhilHealth case rates for AEFIs can be used. the RA, no, the Republic Act 11525 or the COVID-19 Vaccination Program Act has already been signed. So it allots a fund where people can use for those experiencing these adverse events. So after vaccination, what do you do? So again, usual symptoms may be experienced. So these are your reactogenic effects, no response. Um, that's pain, redness, swelling where you've been injected, and flu-like symptoms. So that's the fever, body weakness, and these are normal signs that the body is mounting the needed immune response. It means it's building up the protection from COVID virus. If the discomfort increases after 24 hours, or the symptoms that you experience are unusual, meaning not the ones earlier mentioned, you can report to the nearest health facility or call the hotline that will be given to you after you get vaccinated. So health authorities will be investigating if the symptoms you experience is actually caused by the vaccine or it's just mere coincidence. So after vaccination, can we go back to not wearing face masks and face shields? So sadly, no. I think what we need to accept is we will be learning to live with COVID-19. That is our new normal. And part of being learning to live with it every day is that we need certain tools to prevent the transmission of COVID-19. So the earlier mentioned minimum public health standards, wearing face mask, face shield, always washing your hands, physical distancing, will still be necessary even after you have completed your vaccination. So this way, if you continue, the more tools that you have to prevent and protect yourself and your families from COVID-19, the better. So how do we ensure that the vaccines that you get are authentic? So two things. Only vaccines with number one, Philippine FDA emergency use authorization. And number two, that they are transported under strict cold chain conditions. Only vaccines that fulfill these two criteria can provide the full protection for those who are vaccinated. So as I mentioned earlier, certain vaccines have specific temperature requirements. So even if a vaccine is with Philippine FDA EUA, if it's not transported in the right conditions, it will not give the full protection. So we are asking for your help. We need everybody's help here. We ask you to be agents of tamang impormasyon. You can be an agent of tamang impormasyon by sharing only accurate information. The department, with the help of our partners from UNICEF and the World Health Organization, has helped us curate all of these information materials, which can be accessed through this link. And if there is just one thing that you will share from this Google Drive of so many resources, I recommend that you share the video on 10 things you need to know about COVID-19 vaccines. So if you have your online lessons, you have some downtime, you have breaks, we hope that you can share these materials. Second is to take active steps to be informed. We ask everyone to validate any new information that they get about COVID-19 vaccines through the DOH's vaccine page. So that's https:/doh.gov.ph/vaccines. So if you hear something new, if you've watched something on YouTube, saw something posted in a Facebook Messenger group, go to the site, verify if it's true or not. Second is we ask you to participate in feedback platforms. Your feedback is important to us. So once you verified information, you can report fake news so that these can be debunked. Where will you report it? You can report it through DOH Kira chatbot. So Kira is our katuwang na impormasyon para sa responsableng aksyon. So you just go to the DOH's Facebook page, click message, and Kira will come up. There a button to report fake news will be available, and then you can type in the fake news that you've seen or even post a link where you've seen it. Alternatively, you can access Kira, our chatbot, through the link provided here. We will also have our online sectoral survey. So this represents the different priority groupings. So since you are already in our mailing list, once this is available, we will provide you a link. We ask you to disseminate and accomplish this within your networks. This hopefully will be done monthly. So again, we ask for your help. We need you to champion informed choice and vaccination with only with expert recommended and Philippine FDA approved, meaning with emergency use authorization vaccines. So you are people that the communities trust. Your families trust you, your colleagues, your students trust you. So we hope that you can help us disseminate the right information to the widest reach possible. Thank you and good afternoon.
Hello. Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Regala. And sorry for what happened a while ago. So, iba talaga tayo pag live, di ba? So, right now, we are at a very critical stage in many parts of the world where we really need to be focusing on bringing down the transmission, and that in turn will help in reducing how much this virus can actually change. So hashtag healthy Pilipinas. So let us help the Department of Health disseminating good information regarding the COVID vaccine. So this time, the Zoom room is open for questions and clarifications. And also share ko lang while watching TV last March 1. So I really felt something different as history unfolded, no? So there is really some glimpse of hope that our frontliners and government officials has administered. So my answered prayer na tayo. So the COVID-19 vaccination program will be the largest and most complex public health effort in the history of the Philippines. 'Di ba, Dr. Alfonso? Tama ba ako? Yes, so it will especially benefit the poor and most vulnerable among us. And let us understand as well that the purpose of the vaccine for all Filipinos is to create a herd immunity so that anyone who gets infected won't suffer the same symptoms that infected individuals experience. Okay, so anybody, ano yung mga tanong ninyo? So Dr. Alfonso would like, of course, to um, listen to your questions, no? And he will really give clarifications. Okay,
Right. Good afternoon
so
once again, Airspacers. For the open forum, you may chat your questions through the chat box, which is directed only to the host, so that we can control the chats as well, and we could answer your questions if there are. And if ever you may chat in your questions now through the chat box. Again, it is directed through the host.
okay.
Sige sir, I think I've received some questions already. Do I read them na lang po?
Sige po.
Sige po, Doc.
Sige po, Doc.
Doc.
Sige po. From Sir John Cesar Pragados. Do vaccine brands matter? Okay. So earlier, no, I showed at least the first two, Pfizer and AstraZeneca. I think this refers to efficacy. One has 95, the other has 70.4. Para naturally, why would I prefer the 70 kung meron namang 95, di ba? The reality po kasi is that the comparator situation is present. The present situation where we don't have vaccines yet. So that's 0% protection. So if we look at it, if Pfizer arrives, that's having to choose between not getting any protection because I have not been vaccinated yet, and then getting Pfizer, which has 95. If AstraZeneca arrives, that means 0% versus 70.4%. I think yung worry din kasi nung iba, 'di ba lumabas na dumating na si Sinovac. Si Sinovac has 50 something percent for mild COVID, for moderate 78%, and for severe 100%. So parang saan ako pupunta, no? Doon ba sa Pfizer, hahantayin ko ba si Pfizer, si Astra, or okay na ba ako with Sinovac na meron ngayon? I think it depends on your situation. Ako po personally, I have in my household, I have family members who are at high risk. So it means na I fear na I might infect them, no? Because I go out every day to work. So if the vaccine is already made available to me, so ako po, kahit sa DOH ako, hindi po kami group A. Dahil sa government employees kami papasok eh. We're actually group B. So if I ever do get my turn, and at that time, Sinovac is the one available, I think what's important to me is it protects from moderate and severe. And 78 and 100% protection, for me, is better than 0% protection at present. So I think that's how we should look at it, na it's not one vaccine brand against the other. It's what's available now and my present situation, if I am vaccinated or not. Because really speaking, diba, frankly speaking, today, without the vaccine, that's 0% protection. And as our experts always say, the best vaccine is the one that's been injected to you, that it's the one that's in your arm. Because if we do get caught up with talk about these efficacy rates, and it prevents us from actually getting any vaccine, that's 0% protection.
Thank you, Doc. Then we also have one question from our Facebook viewers, Doc. She belongs under the sector of aviation personnel. When will they be vaccinated daw po, and who will vaccinate them? Is it the responsibility of, for example, she works under MCIA? Will it be MCIA who will be administering, or would it be the government who is in charge with their vaccination, Doc?
So actually, the government is in charge of rolling out the vaccine to all the priority groups. So it just so happens that we are going through the different subsectors from Group A first before we move to Groups B and C. So aviation, I think, is it's Group B.
Okay po, Doc. Another question, Doc, is what is the COVAX facility daw po, Doc?
So COVAX facility works is how it works is it's providing equitable access of the vaccine. So yung ating other vaccine brands, expected natin sana na makapag-provide si COVAX. So sa ngayon po, until we have an actual date on the flight number for the vaccines, we cannot really say definitively when it will arrive. So katulad po last time, sinabi, may announcement na AstraZeneca. But then na-delay, di ba? Because of logistics issue from UNICEF. So until it's final, I think we cannot say when the others will arrive. Initially po, kasi sabi nga Pfizer yung unang darating. But then, wala tayong definite date. So the hopes of everyone, including the healthcare workers, were really on getting Pfizer. So right now, I think we're trying to be realistic, manage expectations, and be transparent also with the limitations that we have. We won't overpromise that A, B, and C will arrive. But just be real, really, and inform everyone of the information as they have been verified.
Thank you, Doc. Then another question, though, Doc, is there a direct relationship with regards to the vaccine's efficacy and the seriousness of the side effects? Let's say, for example, ibig sabihin, sir, is kung mas severe daw yung side effects, is mas effective daw po yung vaccine, Doc.
Actually, hindi po. That's a myth. The best vaccines should have the least, no, side effects or allergies. Kasi nga po, yun yung tinitingnan sa clinical trials, safety and efficacy. And they won't be able to proceed if they don't meet a certain standard of safety and efficacy. So yung kung gaano kalala po yung side effect, wala po yung kinalaman sa efficacy or effectiveness ng ating bakuna.
Okay, thank you, Doc. Then another question, Doc, is it is with regards to the mutation, and his question actually is there a possibility for the COVID virus to evolve? And I believe, diba, Doc, we already have the South African variant, we have the UK variant, and we have other variants of concerns which were detected, if I'm not mistaken, here in the Philippines, Doc. Does it play a huge role with regards to the efficacy of the vaccines that are on hand?
Sa ngayon po, no, the vaccines do not have complete data on these variants because when they were developed, wala pa itong variants natin. So ngayon, tinitingnan po nila how effective are the vaccines in preventing or protecting against these new variants, the UK, the South African variant, and the two of concern, no, mutations of concern. But I have to emphasize siguro, how do the variants happen? No? Why do the variants actually come up in the first place? The variants happen because transmission is continuous. If more people get infected by COVID virus, there's a higher possibility of the virus to mutate and become a new variant. So indirectly, by protecting people from COVID, the vaccine can actually indirectly have some influence on the rate of mutations and hence the appearance of new variants. So the sooner that we get to achieve herd immunity, that's also going to help us reduce the number of these mutations and variants. A second application po nito is, ibig ba sabihin yan, Doc, kung nag-mutate ngayon yung virus, will it mean that the COVID vaccine would need booster shots similar to other vaccines in the future? At present po, hindi pa natin alam dahil hindi pa po kompleto. But this is one possibility that our experts are preparing for. And if it comes to that point, so we will again rely on the evidence on safety and efficacy before administering those booster shots. So at present, the definitive data show that there's protection provided and it's safe and effective, at least for those already given Philippine FDA emergency use authorization.
Thank you, po, Doc. Any other questions, aerospacers?
I think there's something in the chat. So from Kyla Paras, hi Doc, my dad is 59 and has ankylosing spondylitis. Would it be safe for him to get vaccinated?
Yes, generally po, those with other existing conditions, as long as they're controlled, it's safe for them to have the vaccine. And also before the vaccine, there will be health screening. And actually on the day of the vaccine, before they sign their consent, there's another screening that will happen. So there's at least 2 screenings that will happen. So what I can suggest is kung merong attending physician, si father, he can consult as preparation para ma-explain din po nung kanyang physician yung implications of getting the vaccine. But generally, based on evidence po, if you have existing conditions, as long as it's controlled, you can get the vaccine.
Okay, so that is clear.
Thank you, Doc. Then another question though, Doc, is let's say for example, first dose niya, Doc, is Sinovac. Then the second shot that he would prefer is to have AstraZeneca. Would that be possible, the po, Doc?
Oh, so natanong din yan. So kunyari daw may healthcare worker, dahil Sinovac ka nandyan ngayon, Sinovac nagpauna siya. Pero kung dumating yung Astra, pwede ba ang Astra yung second? So it's actually not recommended to mix doses of different vaccine brands. So that's the first. Bakit? Because vaccines have different mechanisms on how they stimulate the body to create the antibodies. So these antibodies po will be the ones protecting you. So that's the first. The second is, what if kumpletuhin ko na lang yung una kong brand? Sinovac, mag 2 doses ako. Can I get Astra pagdating, no? Hindi rin po ito suggested dahil wala pa pong data on will it provide better protection if you get several complete doses of several vaccines. So the answer po sa ngayon is hindi po muna recommended.
Okay, thank you, Doc. Luz, on your
Okay.
end, may question?
Sige, there's a question here. Our barangay did give us forms asking to answer yes or no for the COVID-19 vaccination. So no information like this one was given before the survey was given. So many answered no, especially the senior citizens. So does this mean to say that they will no longer be able to avail of the free vaccines?
Ma'am, I'm not familiar with the LGU's protocols, but wala naman pong exclusion criteria if initially nag-ano kayo ng no sa mga paunang survey. Um, I think the process is kailangan dun sa registration and master listing for them, nandoon sila sa list na yon. And if hindi pa po yun ginagawa dahil nasa phase 1 pa nga lang po tayo, then there should be no fear of being excluded from the free vaccination program.
Okay. Thank you, Doc.
Okay, thank you, Doc.
Then there's another question po to follow up na lang with the mutation. Is or are the studies ongoing with regards to how we can really understand and cope up with the virus mutation na po, Doc? And who's the agency assigned for that one, Doc? With regards to studying the mutation of COVID.
Oo, so evidence from experts abroad din are being reviewed by the DOH with the National Institutes of Health regarding the mutations.
Okay, Doc. Another question, Doc, is for senior citizens with underlying health conditions, is the vaccine safe for them? There are those who fear getting vaccinated for fear of death.
Oo, so yan. Sa seniors natin, yung unang dalawa, Pfizer and Astra, pwede po sa kanila based sa clinical trials. No? Yung Sinovac, ang recommendation po kasi it's for 18 to 59 years old. But then, yung safety, all three are safe for the elderly. No? Especially yung unang dalawa po, it's safe for 60 and above.
Okay, I see, Doc. Then what quarter are we expecting that the sectors from 18 to 59 age group are going to be vaccinated, Doc? I guess some of our students are really anxious enough on when they are going to be vaccinated for in the hopes as well that the face-to-face classes would already resume by then whenever the majority has been inoculated already, Doc.
Oo, so it's actually not by age group, it's per sector. So
Okay.
Group A, no, healthcare workers, senior citizens, persons with other diseases with comorbidities, workers in essential sector, uniformed personnel, indigent. Tatapusin po muna yon before we proceed with
Mm,
Group B.
okay.
Then Group
Okay.
B, teachers pa nga po yung una eh, di ba? Teacher,
Mm,
social workers. So maybe the students down the line pa po kung sakali.
mm, I see. Okay, Doc. Then another question, Doc, with regards to the virus or with the vaccine as well. What is the difference between mRNA and inactive virus, no po, Doc?
Oo, so maybe mRNA and inactivated no virus.
Mm-mm.
The end goal po kasi of any of our vaccines is to be able to start the immune response, to elicit an
Mm.
immune response that will create the antibody. Ang pinagkaiba po ni mRNA at ni inactivated virus is paano nila sisimulan yung immune response na yon. mRNA vaccines work by giving specific instructions to create a certain protein, yung spike protein po natin. That spike protein is a harmless protein that resembles the spike protein of the COVID-19 virus. Para pag na-infect na tayo ng actual COVID-19 virus, the antibodies will already know that, that spike protein, nakita ko na yan before. That's for COVID, I will attack it. So that's for mRNA. When it creates the spike protein, the instructions or the genetic the RNA will be degraded. Kasi may fears yung iba daw na it will change my DNA if I get an mRNA vaccine. So hindi po yung totoo na papalitan niya yung DNA ng isang tao pag kumuha ka ng mRNA vaccine. Because it only creates an instruction for the spike protein. And pag nagawa na po si spike protein, i-degrade na po ng katawan natin yung instructions ni mRNA. Ikalawa naman po, si inactivated virus, how it differently, how will it introduce the immune response is, it is a small part that will resemble the spike protein mismo. So in an inactive part of the virus. So hindi siya instructions katulad ni mRNA to create the protein. So it's actually a part of the virus that's already been inactivated. So meaning it cannot cause you to get COVID. So yun din naman po, I think naririnig din namin yun na the vaccines daw can cause COVID because they are the actual virus. So wala po tayong live virus that will be given in any of the COVID-19 vaccines.
Okay. Thank you, Doc. Then another question, Doc, is what happens whenever a person is not inoculated within the given time frame for the second dose? No.
So it's not recommended. So two possibilities. You're too early or too late. So it's not recommended definitely to have it too early because that's what the studies show. The protection is optimal if you follow the interval. So 3 weeks for Pfizer, 4 to 12 weeks for AstraZeneca. For Sinovac, it's 4 weeks then. Ngayon, if you get it later, hindi rin ganun ka-optimal yung magiging response. So it may not, it will still be effective, just not as effective as it would be if you follow the designated duration. So ano pong practical questions na lumalabas sa amin dito sa duration? Some questions include, pwede ba Doc, kunyari, I'm currently in Manila, I get my first dose here. The second dose, pwede ba i-schedule na lang ako sa province when I go home or vice versa? So it's suggested that you get both doses in a single locality, in a single LGU because it will avoid the mix-up of brands and it will ensure that your allocation will be there.
Okay, so maghintay na lang kayo ng vaccines. So there is another question here, Doc. What is your personal recommendation to schools if academic year 2021 to 2022 will come and the vaccines are not yet available for the teachers and students? So do you favor the face-to-face mode of learning delivery by that time?
Um, I think it would have to be a delicate, definitely there will be a delicate balance with having face-to-face classes and a mix of these remote and online platforms. Why? Because the evidence is evolving with the vaccines. And yung transmission rates then, we also get more evidence of about the transmission. But what is known right now at present is we know that wearing face masks, practicing distancing, ensuring that there's good ventilation. Those are things that have already been proven to prevent the transmission. So even if we do return to face-to-face, there will be adjustments to accommodate this. And a mix of remote learning, I think, will be part of the new way of education natin because if people or if students actually get sick or if their family members do get sick, there will be some form of quarantine that will have to be necessary to observe no, and protect the others from being exposed to. So in terms of do I favor face-to-face or do I favor remote learning, I think what I will favor is a mix of both that will allow us to follow the evidence at that time and still implement the minimum public health standards.
Okay, sir. So we will still apply the safety protocols, of course, in our school. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Okay, any questions, Sir Adrian?
Okay. There's another question, Doc. Do we see a lifetime wherein vaccines are already made available through pharmacies wherein we could procure it over the counter?
Yes, that's possible, but that's gonna be once they get certificate of product registrations. And I don't think that's gonna be anytime within the next 2 years. Um, because we would still be monitoring the vaccine's effects no, on transmission. And part of that data, the efficacy, once Filipinos have been given the vaccine, will also be used before they actually apply for the certificate of product registration. So do I see that possibility? Yes, but not in the near future.
Okay. Thank you, Doc. Another question from our Facebook viewers, Doc. My mom is 60 years old and she has comorbidities such as high blood, cholesterol, diabetes, and she was already vaccinated with the pneumonia vaccine. Uh, does she still need to be vaccinated with the COVID-19 vaccine, Doc?
Yes. So the two vaccines, no, the pneumonia vaccine and the COVID vaccine, protects for two very different illnesses. No, the pneumonia vaccine will protect her from pneumonia, while the COVID vaccine will protect her from the COVID virus. What is recommended is you have to wait 2 weeks before or after getting any other vaccine. So if I got the pneumonia vaccine today and I want to get the COVID-19 vaccine, I have to wait 2 weeks. Or the other situation, I got my COVID vaccine today and I want to get the pneumonia vaccine, I have to wait 2 weeks. So it's not recommended that the COVID vaccine be co-administered with other vaccines. You have to wait 2 weeks.
Okay, Doc. Thank you. Another question, Doc, is as a breastfeed mom, is it safe to be vaccinated with any of the vaccines, the po, Doc?
Yes, although the clinical trials have limited participants no, from pregnant women, no, based on the results, there's no harmful effects to our breastfeeding moms. And as a precaution, what is recommended for pregnant women is that if they're not if they're in the first trimester or the first 3 months of pregnancy, it's suggested to defer the vaccine.
Okay, Doc. Ma'am Luz, any questions sa imong side?
Okay, so I think Sir Mario is raising his hand, so he may want to ask a question. Sir, you can turn on your mic if you want.
Yes,
Okay, sir.
My question is, senior citizens are part of the phase 1. Am I correct? Senior
Yes,
citizens.
sir.
Yeah,
Group
but
80.
then the available vaccines right now are from COVAX, which exclude senior citizens. So, what will be the next? Next step to be undertaken? Because yes, you are part of the priority in the phase 1, but the available vaccines does not allow to be given to this sector. What will happen now?
Sir, so again po, no, we understand that it's really causing anxiety to our people at risk in the general population. But the vaccine portfolio nga po, it's 7 vaccine brands, and the negotiations are ongoing to get the supplies from the other brands also with Philippine FDA EUA. So that's gonna be AstraZeneca and Pfizer. And those two po are pwede po sa ating senior citizens.
So what you're saying is, even if you are part of the priority in the phase 1, so you have to be relegated to the background not until the arrival of the vaccines from AstraZeneca or the Moderna Pfizer vaccines, because that's not available in the Philippines, even if you are part of the phase 1 being senior citizen. But then since only the vaccines from China are the ones available right now, so the senior citizens will now be relegated, not being part of the supposedly priority phase 1.
Sir, we actually got the first few doses of Astra. So we're just really awaiting for the arrival of the rest po.
Okay. So I
We
think
understand,
that
sir, and apologize doon sa anxiety it's been causing of these delivery delays. But
actually,
rest assured po, yeah.
but the it's only about 460,000 doses that we received from AstraZeneca.
Yes, sir, limited po sa
My,
ngayon,
my,
but
my,
we're
my,
waiting for
my
more.
question is perhaps so the answer is we are just going to wait for the arrival of these vaccines. Hang in there for a while, not until the
Yes,
arrival.
sir.
Okay.
We are actively trying to secure the delivery of the next doses.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So at least
Luz?
ma-enlighten yung mga senior citizens natin. Oh, so there is a question here, sir, Doc. After the vaccination, how long will the protection last?
So the protection or immunity that it will give, no, is not yet known. How long? Because it's just been how many months since the vaccines have been introduced. So I think the earliest vaccination program in the other countries is December, and it's only 3 months. So the data is not yet complete to be able to definitively say how long will it provide the protection. That's why I earlier mentioned po that there might be a possibility that we would need booster shots, no? Depending on the data that will be collected on the length or the duration of protection that it will provide.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, Doc. Thank you, Doc. There's another question, Doc. Would it be possible if you recently contracted with a virus and then you get yourself vaccinated?
That's not recommended po. So earlier mentioned that those who have recovered have to wait 90 days. So I guess siguro yung follow-up doon, what if, Doc, hindi ko alam na meron pala ako, di ba, that I got infected. On the day of your actual vaccination, the screening will include if you are experiencing any symptoms. So you will be excluded based from that or deferred.
Okay, Doc. Thank you. And I believe this is we can already entertain one or two questions. But for the second to the last question, Doc, we started late with the vaccination compared with other Southeast Asian countries. Do you think it would be possible to achieve herd immunity within this year, Doc?
It's going to depend on the delivery. Honestly speaking po. So like in the first slide that I've shown, the program is until 2023. So we're trying to be optimistic, work for the best scenario, work doubly hard to get everyone access, but then also be realistic, be prepared for these delays. So kung this year and at this rate of delivery, baka not so sure. But definitely for 3 years, we would have to make it happen.
Okay, Doc. Thank you.
3 years.
And there's one question here, Doc. Um, why distribute the vaccine if it is not complete? Conducted by professionals doesn't mean it is safe. Does it mean kami ang trial sample for the developer of the vaccine?
Hindi po. This doesn't mean that it's being experimented on you. It means that it's already passed the previous criteria for safety and efficacy. And even then, it will also undergo the rigorous process of evaluation by the different experts I presented. So if those criteria are not met, they will not be given to you.
Thank you, Doc. And I believe we
May
have
question
one
pa
last
dito.
question. Sige, Ma'am Luz.
I if I am vaccinated and I want to donate blood, and may effect po ba or any implications in terms of blood donations? Specifically if my HIV, yung bibigyan. I think that's the way I understand it.
Sige. So the situation is a person will donate blood to an HIV patient, and that person has received the vaccine. Is it safe for him to
Or
donate?
safe
No?
for him.
Um, I don't think that's been included in the evidence yet. So to err on the side of caution, no, maybe we would have to defer the blood donation po muna.
Kailangan i-check pa, di ba?
Yes, it has to be consulted with the physician handling the patient with HIV or person living with HIV.
Okay. Thank you
Okay.
po.
Thank you, Doc. For the last question, siguro, no? I believe we have one last from Sir Mario. Nag-raise ng hand si Sir Mario. Yes, sir? Sir Mario? Hindi, nag-raise o balik si Sir Mario sa hand. Okay, so if ever we don't have any more questions, Ma'am Luz?
Sir, meron pa bang isa dyan? Yung regarding pregnant women, nasa taas po. Would it be
Nasagot na,
possible in
ma'am.
the future, tapos na to, for pregnant women to be required a COVID-19 vaccine before child delivery, just like other required vaccines?
Vaccination po is not mandatory, so I don't think it will be required.
Okay po. Sige. I think that would be all. So thank you, Dr. Alfonso. So your presence make us very happy because we are enlightened about the COVID vaccine. So there you have it, mga kapamilya, kaibigan, from the Department of Health Philippines, talking about the importance of COVID-19 vaccines. Allow me now to call our IDRRMU coordinator, Mr. Adrian Joseph Adaptar, to present the token of appreciation to our dear speaker.
All right. Okay, so let me read the citation that we have, Doc, for the certificate, along with the replica of our training aircraft, RPC-50. Certificate of appreciation is given to Dr. Alfonso Miguel Regala, MBA, In sincere appreciation and deep gratitude for devoting his time as our resource speaker in the talk entitled COVID-19 Vaccine Awareness Webinar, given the 6th day of March 2021 at IAU Zoom meeting, Indiana Aerospace University, IAU Town Center, Cagudoy Road, Pasac, Lapu-Lapu City, Island of Mactan, Philippines. Signed, yours truly, Adrian Joseph Adaptar, our safety manager, Mr. Eddie A. Gallos, our Student Affairs Office Director, Ms. Maria Luz G. Kahayagan, and our Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Harold E. Turing. Thank you so much, Doc, for the time that you have given us this afternoon. I know that you are quite busy with um, the important events that has been going on, especially which concerns the Department of Health. So thank you so much once again, Dr. Fonzie.
Thank you, Din, for inviting us. And I hope that this is just the start of that conversation. Um, I know that we're preparing the materials, but we equally value the feedback, no, and the concerns coming from the people in the communities. Adrian knows how to reach me, so just feel free to send an email
Yes.
or text me.
Okay. Thank you
We
so
will
much
be
once
providing
again.
materials.
Uh, or
Thank
you
you, Doc.
can log in to Department of Health. Maraming salamat talaga sa pagbibigay liwanag ng lahat. So mga kapamilya, any brands is just as good as is expected. So as long as your mind and body is in it. So the general rule is make your immune system healthy before and after vaccination. Then continue to practice health protocols for COVID-19. So this time, kindly turn on your video cam para sa ating pictorial along with Dr. Regala.
All right. So if your internet connection would allow you to turn on your cameras, everyone, please show us your brightest smiles.
Hmm.
We have 10 slides, but I believe we should only have those who have turned on their camera, no? Sige, so again, for those students who could turn on their camera, we would appreciate if you could turn it on for photo opportunity with our speaker this afternoon, Dr. Alfonso Fonsi Regala. Okay, so in three, two, one, smile. All right, thank you, everyone. Wala na lang akong gi-appeal ang wala nag-on, ha? Ma'am Luz?
Yes. Okay, kata lang naka-on.
Okay na.
Thank you so much for your time, my dear IAU faculty and staff and administration. Okay, salamat once again to Dr. Regala for your time given to us, to the aerospacers and to all our FB viewers, no? Thank you so much for that enlightening talk. It was indeed a COVID-19 vaccine awareness webinar. So, guys, you can also add up Dr. Regala in link or even in DOH Philippines page so that you will be well informed. So don't spread any fake news, no? Because it would really cause anxiety. So in behalf of the IAUDRRMU, thank you so much as well to Mr. Harold Turing, our Chief Executive Officer, for supporting us in this webinar. Okay, and of course to our Dean of Colleges, Dr. Nonita Legaspi, and our Principal, Mrs. Eulalia Cayude, and her team in the basic education department. And of course, thank you sa atong technical team o sa IAUDRRMU members and the tech team as well. And to close this event this afternoon, I would like to call Miss Diane Tano to lead us into prayer. Diane? So we'd like to request the
Ako na
IAU
lang, ma'am.
chair, Adrian Cuevas, if you can lead the prayer.
I'll do the prayer na lang, ma'am.
Okay,
Diane was
sige.
disconnected.
All right.
So let us put ourselves in the presence of God and in the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord God, we thank you for the given time that you were able to provide for us. Thank you, Lord, for the speaker that you provided for us this afternoon. Thank you, Lord, for the insights and for um, the knowledge that you were able to send us, oh Lord, especially in easing our anxieties and our fears with regards to the vaccine, Lord, as we begin inoculation of our country, oh Lord. May you continue to allow us to be healed and to be protected from this dreadful disease so that we can already resume our old normal, or if not our old normal, Lord, we can already transition to our new normal. Lord, may you bless us and may you continue to protect us as we part ways this afternoon. All this we ask in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
Amen.
In the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you once again, Doc Fonzie, for your time,
Thank
Doc.
you so
Thank you so much.
much. Thank you so much,
Thank you
Aerospacers.
po.
God bless you all. Happy